Wrong button. Being a quorum present, I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
Which flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tom Collins.
Here.
Bill Gottschall. Here. Clem Wozleski. Mike Richmond. Jim Galantino.
Here.
Commissioner Talby. Margaret Gubernalty. Mike Cristaldi.
Here. We have enough people.
Craig Palmisano.
Here.
David Carter.
Here. 7.
Despina Hess. Remy Pelosi. Rich Patterson.
Here. This meeting is being held in accordance with due public notice thereof and pursuant to the New Jersey State Sunshine Law. Notice of this meeting was advertised in the press, and a copy of same has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. All applicants are hereby advised that should you receive board approval tonight, you must come forward and sign a form which informs you regarding the timing of receiving building permits and mercantile licenses. At the end of your case tonight, please see the board administrator to sign the 2 information sheets. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the last 2 meetings?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Done.
Am I missing something? I know. Do I have that?
The resolutions? Agenda.
I'd like to hear a motion to approve the resolutions and decisions. 42-2013, John Subasis. 43-2013, Stephen Richmond. 44-2013, Mark Lipowitz. 45-2013, Charles and Eileen Johnson. 46-2012, Mary Ann Froelich. 47-2000, is it 13?
It'd be 13.
All right, a correction. Charles and Eileen Johnson, 46-2013. Mary Ann Froelich, 47-2013. Stephen and Heidi Goldberg, 48-2013. Thomas and Eileen Dugan, 49-2013. John R. D. Filippo Sr., 50-2013. Kevin and Michelle Entris, 51-2013. Harvey and Marcia Tesler, 52-2013. Roberto D. O. Marquez.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. This is going to be easy next month. All right, where are we?
We haven't been meeting in November.
Yeah, whatever. Where's my paperwork? Okay, the first case is NJ 08402 LLC, Frederick J. Amendolia, 23 South Washington Avenue, Block 126, Lot 110, qualifier C001B in the CBD District to grant an interpretive or site plan change in use from general business office to real estate office. Possible C variance for parking. Taxes are current and proof of advertising and notifying is satisfied. Mr. Rubin?
Roger Rubin. I do. I'll read my review first, and then you make a presentation. The subject property is an office complex on the first floor of a condominium building constructed on the site of Maloney's Tavern and Restaurant in 2007 by the Gallagher brothers. The building has two commercial/office condos on the first floor, the subject office on the ocean side of the floor, and the dental office on the bay side. The subject office complex, per the diagram submitted, consists of approximately 1,979 square feet of space, currently configured into a reception area, 5 private offices, a conference room, and a kitchen and bathroom. The second and third floors of this building each have 4 residential condominium units for a total of 10 condos, 8 residential and 2 office/commercial. The subject office complex previously housed the financial services office of Marshall Wealth Management, LLC, with ownership presently in the name of Washington Avenue Properties, LLC. Steve Marshall, principal, which company has entered into a lease purchase agreement with the applicant herein, NJ 08402, LLC. The crux of this application is exactly what will be the nature of the office use. The staff committee application stated, quote, change of use from brokerage office financial to brokerage office real estate. The planning board application narrative is worded differently, stating that they are proposing, quote, change in use from a financial services office to a real estate services office. It goes on to say that they will be, quote, expediting and coordinating the real estate services surrounding and related to the conveyancing of and conducting of the actual closings thereof, unquote. Action required. The action required will depend on the board's conclusion as to exactly what is the nature of the office function being proposed. By our zoning ordinance at 175-14A1C, general, business, and professional offices are exempt from board action. There is no question the previous use was a general business and professional office. The planning board must determine and make an interpretation based on testimony, as the application is not detailed, as to whether or not the proposed use may also be called general business and professional. On the other hand, at 175-14A1, real estate offices are clearly not exempt from board action, and they shall require board approval as a site plan action. In addition, at 175-36B, under parking, general offices require 1 parking space per 300 square feet of office space, while retail offices require 1 parking space per 200 square feet. The subject condo has 5 parking spaces attached to it per the application documents. As a general office, it would need 7 spaces for an existing legal non-conforming deficiency of 2 spaces. If deemed to be a real estate office, it would need 10 spaces, increasing the deficiency to 5 and creating the need for a parking variance for 3 spaces. So the action before the board is an interpretation of what exactly the proposed office use constitutes. If the board determines it is a general business and professional office, it automatically is approved for mercantile license. It might also be good form to formally approve a site plan. If the board deems it to be a real estate office in the classical, common sense of that phrase, it definitely needs planning board site plan action as a change in use and a three-space parking variance. The board's task is made a bit more interesting by virtue of the fact that neither the term general professional office nor the term real estate office is defined in the land use ordinance. Nor is there any help in the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law or in the Cox rendition of New Jersey law. By the end of the hearing, the board should probably create a working definition to decide this case and set a precedent for future cases. Considerations for the board's decision. The board should elicit testimony on exactly who will be on the premises and for what purposes. What background and professional licenses will there be, and doing what? Will there be numerous brokers and real estate salespersons serving buyers and sellers by brokering purchases and sales, as, say, there are at nearby Marketplace Realty and Prudential Fox & Roach and others? Will there be any? Will the office be used for closings and legal document preparation, with normal real estate brokerage activities taking place elsewhere? And if so, where? Will it be purely general business professional, purely real estate, or a hybrid? If purely general business professional, the board should create a definition, rule as such, and approve a site plan for good form and for the record, although technically not necessary. But I think it protects the applicant now that it's come before the board to do so. If the board feels it is a traditional real estate office, then you deal with the parking variance as to whether 5 spaces is sufficient. The board members' general knowledge of parking issues in the area of other real estate offices in Margate, as compared to the number of brokers, is considered good legal justification for a vote one way or the other. The less burdened parking on street at this Washington Avenue location, since Maloney's is gone and with City Hall relocated, can also be considered. At the end of the hearing, please create a record of a definition of real estate office and then act on the variance and site plan if that's the route that you take.
I have one question for the board. Raj,
Yeah.
you have mentioned a lot of issues that are going on right here. Should we talk about these issues before we start the testimony, so we are clear on it throughout the testimony, or are we just going to hear the testimony and then go about it differently?
My opinion is, hear the testimony, and I think it will help to crystallize your thinking. I think it'll be a lot easier to work in the concrete based on what they say than to come up with a theoretical definition first.
But you have the
That's up to the chairman.
But you have the 5 parking spaces, and you have 10 parking spaces. I mean, don't we need to clarify that now before the testimony starts? I mean...
No, I think you need to hear what they're going to do in the premises.
All right.
And then decide how you're going to define the use. I think that's the best way to go. Listen to them first.
Let me ask,
agree?
let me,
Yes.
let me, let me
Good.
add something.
Yeah.
It looks like we're trying to elicit testimony or evidence from the applicants in order to figure out whether they fit into as a real estate office or as just a general commercial office. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So we don't really have to, I mean, there was an issue that I had maybe that we needed an interpretation from the zoning board,
Planning
but
board,
it doesn't
yeah.
sound like that. I just want to be clear. To me, it sounds like we're just trying, the application isn't clear enough, so the board can't really vote on it until the applicant's clarified. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, let the applicant clarify what they're doing,
Okay.
and then you decide if it fit, which of those 2 categories that are named in the, described in the zoning ordinance it fits into.
Yeah, so whether it's based on category A or B, the 2 choices, there's going to be different standards that they have to follow.
Right.
Whether they have to follow a site plan, if
Yeah.
it's a real estate office, or
Yeah.
whether it's just going to be an administrative action, if it's just a general commercial
I
office.
just want to make sure the application is clear prior to us hearing the testimony, because it sounds like the application wasn't clear because of Mr. Rubin's report.
That's right, the application was sketchy, and I think they've seen my report, and I think they're prepared to give us factual information. And I think they're going to create a record of what they're doing. In other words, in the end, you're going to say, is it like Marshall Wealth Management, which was a bunch of professionals in offices making phone calls and occasionally seeing a client? Or is it like Marketplace that has 35 realtors and a lot of cars and customers coming in and out all day long? Because there's a different density of business. And the ordinance recognizes there are two different kinds of businesses. We've got to find out what kind they are.
I've never seen an application like this. That's why I'm
It's
asking these
interesting.
questions.
It's very interesting, yeah.
That's my question, too, and I'm sorry to, we just have to get this clear before we start, because it's going to help everybody. If there's an interpretation after the facts that it's a real estate office, aren't variances required for parking, though?
Yeah, as I said in my review, then...
So have they noticed for those variances?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They have.
Okay. That's all I have.
Yeah, they're covered on that.
Okay, my
Go
name
on.
is Margaret Zabo Castelli,
She's the Lord.
and I'm the It's Zabo, Z-A-B-O, Castelli, C-A-S-T-E-L-L-I. You're welcome. Mr. Amendolia has put forth an application which specifically listed real estate services and not a brokerage. Although he is obviously a broker, he is using this office solely for his team of realtors that are working with him. At the most, he's anticipating that there may be, besides himself, 2 realtors at any point in time in the office, and maybe 1 or 2 assistants to help with paperwork. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to facilitate the preparation of real estate documents. The reason they don't need so many people coming in and out of the office is most of this is done, obviously, through electronics and email now. So people don't necessarily come down unless they just get together and sign. And on top of that, there will be occasional closings there. If the buyers prefer to close at his office, it won't be like 20 on a day. It doesn't work that way. But there will be people for any of his closings, even if he has 20 closings in a day, the people get to determine where they want to close. They may close at his office, at another broker's office, at an attorney's office, or in their own offices. So there's not going to be as much traffic as one would think if you had a regular brokerage with 20 agents going in and out. What is Frederick, introduce yourself and put your name on for the record.
Frederick J. Amendolia, A-M-E-N-D-O-L-I-A.
Please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you have a testimony you're about to give in this matter with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, 9400 Atlantic Avenue, Margate City.
Okay. Now, Frederick, can you go over and confirm that what I've just told them is how it's going to occur and that it's an accurate description?
I'm going to confirm and clarify. It's mostly accurate with the exception of I'm a Prudential realtor where we have a big Prudential office in Margate. I work primarily out of the marketing office in Northfield, but I'm a resident of Margate. I have a very small team, no big team. I have 2 part-time realtors who may become full-time. The rest are clerical or paralegal or legal people looking at abstracts of title or where I need an attorney-prepared document or a commercial prepared lease or commercial prepared or reviewed agreement of sale. Other than that, I do conduct all my other office business at 1001 Tilton Road in Northfield, New Jersey, which is the Prudential Fox and Roach Home Marketing Center. And I do reside in Margate.
So this is just an offspring of the office, just so that you can keep your team there to work?
Yeah, it's almost like a work-at-home situation, what we call at Fox and Roach is work-at-home, but I live in a one-bedroom condominium, so it's kind of hard to have it's hard for more than one person to live in there, let alone to have, your team congregate and work unless you're working on one case a year. Dan Campbell, who is one of the present owners of the present group that we're coming from, did prepare something, and we've spoke to this in length as we want to try to make this transition seamlessly. The only other thing I might add is, in my eyes, it's just going from a financial services office to a real estate services office, but to be absolutely honest, it may, just for precedent's sake, be a hybrid, because I am an active real estate agent
And a broker now.
and a broker.
How would this differ from like Paula Hartman, who works at Prudential, but she has her own office across the street, or Mark Arbite that works for a brokerage firm and has a separate office? Is this any different than what they
The
have?
only difference would be is that I'm small and I have 5 parking spaces. They're big, and they have very little parking spaces.
So
You understand that the issue is whether you're a real estate officer or not. And from what I'm hearing, based on what you're telling me, I think you're a real estate office because you're going to perform services for buyers and sellers of real estate, correct?
Yes,
Right.
and the ordinance, the land use ordinance is not clear, because when they talk about land ordinance, it's actually marketed properties from there.
Because his main office is in Northfield. That's the real...
No, yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Stan, I agree with you. It's a real estate office.
I think we're splitting hairs by saying, are you saying that if you don't, because you may not market properties, that you're not a real estate office under the definition?
Properties from there, I'm marketing them from Northfield.
Okay.
He's just...
Well, I'll let the board interpret that. Well, why don't we call, is Mr. Campbell a principal of it, or are you going to call him a public portion? Is he a principal of your business, or is he an owner?
He's the owner of the property where we're changing the guards.
Because this is just a lease purchase agreement.
Okay.
that he has.
So he could come now before public?
He
He's
can,
one of the owners.
he can come, right, so he can come now, Jack.
Of real estate transactions, assisting with closings and inspections, as you've already heard. This use is more akin to the previous allowed use of the space than would be a full-fledged real estate office, in our opinion. When we ran our business in the office, and just to clarify, Roger, in addition to making phone calls and doing a transaction every now and then, we did watch TV and we did kick back and relax too. We had 6 employees and many clients who could stop in and see us. By all accounts, our use of the space and the dedicated parking spaces attached to it was not a burden to the neighborhood, the building, or the traffic patterns surrounding us. My understanding is that Mr. Amendolia will have half the amount of employees and far less anticipated client traffic than what was experienced. It would be logical to assume, therefore, the existing parking is adequate, if not generous, for his needs. But more importantly, it's useful, we believe, to point out that there are no fewer than 4 fully committed real estate offices currently operating in Margate with 0 to very little off-street parking. While Mr. Amendolia does not intend to open an office like these, I think it material to bring to your attention to the fact that they are currently operating without parking. They are Soleil Sotheby's, Avalar Realty, and the offices of Mark Arbright and Associates, as well as the Hartman Home Team. The latter two are examples and are part of Prudential Fox Roach, but they are still in separate buildings, and they call themselves 9210 and 9208, I believe.
9211 and 9208.
However, the on-site parking spots at the Prue Fox building are dedicated to that building's only, which is 9218 across the street. There are tens of agents in that main building who use all of those spots, leaving virtually none to be dedicated to Mr. Arbright or Ms. Hartman's very busy offices. And we all know how busy that is. It's one of the busiest commercial districts in Margate. The stress from a parking impact standpoint on the Decatur, Washington, and Ventnor Avenues is much greater than any impact Mr. Amendolia may put on the South Washington and Pacific neighborhood, which is virtually empty 9 months a year. It is also controlled in the summertime with 2-hour parking outside. Soleil Sotheby's has no off-street parking and is one of the busiest offices in the city, yet they were granted a CO when they moved from what is now Mr. Arbright's office to their new location. Thus, any impact Mr. Amendolia's business has on its surrounding area regarding parking would clearly be de minimis and of little consequence in the context of looking at what you have allowed in recent years for Sotheby's, Mr. Arbright, Ms. Hartman, and Avalar. Remember, it is arguably a moot point to compare Mr. Amendolia's business, in our opinion, with the busiest realtor offices in our town, as his intentions, as stated, are not to open a real estate office, but facilitate real estate closings. However, even if he were, I thought it is important to publicly point out what is allowed currently within the description of real estate offices. Please act accordingly and fairly in this case and continue to allow Margate's business community to evolve by approving Mr. Amendolia's application for a CO for a much lesser impact use than real estate general/professional. It is also our understanding that I'm not sure if it was in my commission or the commission before, but we allowed the real estate offices, because it was so busy, so busy, to have no parking. That obviously has not been the case, although it has started to pick up again. So I think if we were going to if we gave them no parking when real estate was in a boom, 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 when they opened their offices, is much less busy today, I think it would be in the best interest, again, for the business community to allow him to have this.
Dan, you're making great points, and it makes all the sense in the world, except why not just ask for the 3 parking space variance? You're a real estate office. There's all the reasons you just said to grant that variance, and then not have this problem.
Okay, that's fine by me, but that wasn't an option that was, it wasn't...
That's the option here, Dan.
That's the option that's in there, and all the arguments for that option, you just made them great, so...
Okay. Then if that happens, he would be able to get the CO. He got the 3 parking.
If we approve the 3 parking space variance and the site plan, he's got it, but then there's no question of is he a real estate office or not a real estate office, and there's all those valid reasons why we should do that.
Okay.
Right, Dan, we're just saying that instead of trying to classify it as a real estate office or not a real estate office, the easiest thing is to go for the...
Say he's a real estate office
I don't
and
think
get
the
the
board
variance.
generally is going to be against...
Obviously, for him, it's not a brokerage per se, because he has a real estate brokerage that he's under in Northfield. He just wants spaces to work locally, because he lives right across the street.
Okay,
So-
that's fine. We'll do the 3.
And obviously, there's parking right outside the office.
So,
Okay.
are we
Thank you.
going to determine that it's real estate?
He's saying it's a real estate office and asking for the variance.
You can
Is
say...
that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, good.
We need to make a motion. We already did the testimony.
Craig, I can't hear you.
His microphone's off.
Yeah.
It's a site, as such, it's a site plan application with a 3 parking space variance for reasons expressed by the testimony.
Already presented.
You have a very good record
Right.
to take a vote if you want to take a vote.
I think there's some board members that have some questions.
Yeah, I just want to get a clarification. You have a real estate office you work in Northfield already. Is this going to be an office where people come in off the street and you have a whole board of houses to sell? Or is this, more or less your houses that you sold already, or you're just coming here, do the paperwork, have the, finalized? That's my impression that you're...
Correct. And so that I don't have to go to Northfield every day when I'm doing some business on the island, and I will work on the island and keep keys on the island, things like that, just for convenience. or the other.
It's essentially a satellite office of your main office, correct? So it's a real estate office, satellite office. How many realtors are going to work out of there?
Myself and 2 part-time, which I said, and honestly,
Okay.
they may become full-time as the market.
And how many staff?
2 full-time, 1 part-time, and in the summertime, we have interns taking turns just answering phones or,
Okay.
relieving people for vacation.
And that fills up the office space,
Yeah,
correct?
it's a little.
It does.
So it's
a
not
little
like you could
office.
have 30 realtors in there?
No, it's a little office.
Where's the most of your sales are offshore then?
I've been in realtor for 33 years.
Anywhere.
I sell from Philadelphia to Cape May, so, and honestly, yep, I'm where I want to be. I'm where it is.
Any other questions from the board? Is anyone here from the public to speak? Seeing none, I close the public portion. Would someone like to make a motion to...
I'll make a motion.
Do we have to amend anything?
Yeah, I think, just to be clear for the record, my understanding is this is, now it's a real estate office, it's an application for site plan approval, also with C variances for parking of, and Roger, how many spaces is? Three, of the C variance for 3 spaces, and that would be the motion essentially for approval.
I'll second that motion.
We didn't hear the motion yet. Who?
Someone make it.
Mike?
He did.
All right.
Fine.
Tom Collins?
I'll vote in favor of the application. I think the usage is not going to be overwhelming to the neighborhood, and as Mr. Campbell elegantly spoke a few minutes ago, it's really something we deal with day in and day out in that area, and I don't think you're going to have a problem, so I'm in favor.
Bill Gottrell?
I agree with Tom. I believe it's going to be a smaller, like you said, a satellite office and not a full-fledged brokerage firm to compete with everybody else, so I vote in favor.
Jim Galantino?
The whole purpose of that area was to make it a business, and Mr. Frederick Amadoli is going to put a business in there. I approve it.
Mike Ristoli?
I can't see another empty building in town. I think if they're going to use it and they're willing to do that, I say I approve.
Craig Colasano?
I also agree with it. According to Dan Campbell's analogy of all the other realtor offices that don't have parking spaces, you have 5 of them. That's okay with me.
David Carter?
I agree, and I agree with the description that they described as a satellite office.
Rich Patterson?
I don't think, even if he wanted to make it a bigger office, the facilities wouldn't allow for it, so I don't think it can be that big, and there's parking problems all over Margate, and you live with the parking problems all over Margate. I don't see any impact on this any more than anything else in town, so I vote yes.
This passes 7-9.
Thank you.
When do we do the definition of a real estate office? Are we going to do that today, or?
Fred?
We don't need to.
You didn't do it. You created a record.
Fred? Sign this? I have one.
You didn't have to do a definition.
What's yours? That's mine. Now, it's your copy, this is mine. Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Good luck, man. See you for some stuff.
Thanks.
So we have other business, a request by the city commissioners to consider a request of Holy Trinity Church to rezone from S60 to S25 or S30, a portion of the property on Jerome Avenue consisting of the former Blessed Sacrament School. Mr. Bailenson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson. My name is Chris Bailenson. I represent Holy Trinity Church with respect to this request this evening to the board. The request is pursuant to the New Jersey statute, which speaks to a zoning change, can be something that is recommended by the planning board, not required, but it is the natural process that the planning board is charged with planning the city. And therefore, oftentimes governing body like the planning board does make a recommendation for a zone change. In this instance, and I don't want to make this complicated, it came out, last time we were here, it didn't come out right, but confusing, it really shouldn't be. The Blessed Sacrament, the Holy Trinity Church, which we all know is Blessed Sacrament, is lot 5 in block 212.02, and it consumes the pink area shown on this exhibit that I'm pointing to now. I'm not going to take an appeal from anything that happens here, so I'm not going to mark this exhibit. Unusually, or for whatever reason, this whole area is zone S60, similar to the Parkway zone.
Just the pink area?
Just the pink area. Which we are, that's why I'm sticking to the 150. So at 150 feet of frontage,
Would that be for the whole lot 5?
no,
Why not?
not even that would be up.
I mean, you're asking for it, so the whole lot 5, I mean, generally with houses of worship, and we just dealt with it in another town, right? So
That's something the governing body can consider after input from Mr. Rubin. I am not requesting that.
okay, so you're cutting off 150 feet in frontage, but the rest is going to remain at 60 then?
Yes.
All right.
Not-
Chris, I know you want to hear from me. Unfortunately,
Member of the church that you can be fair and impartial in your voting.
I can be fair and impartial, and I agree 100% with what you said about St. James. And when St. James, ultimately it will close because it's a dilapidated church, and all those parishioners come down here. Right now, you're looking at taking 150 foot of frontage off of Jerome Avenue. Nobody's going to build one big house next to the church there on Jerome Avenue. It's not going to happen. What the church needs to do is to use that land for parking. You're going to take away 4 to 5 parking spaces just with the sheer driveways. It's already congested. As people move down, it's going to get worse. The worst thing, and I know Mr. Commissioner Campbell back there would say the same thing when they were trying to sell a city property. You don't sell something in Margate because you can never get it back. And you don't. Like Union Avenue, they tried to sell this.
Well, this isn't city property.
No, this is a church property.
This isn't the church board. That's an argument for the church board to move the church board.
I understand, exactly.
And say, don't sell the property, we need a parking lot there. That ain't here.
I understand that, but for us to rezone it so it makes it easy to put that in, and it hurts the impact and the density of the neighborhood, you're going to have cars parked all weekend in front of those places, so now you're going to lose 12 or 15 parking spaces.
It was a school. In favor of 3 single-family homes.
The school is dilapidated, it's gone, it's going to be torn down.
They're talking about density, there's a school there.
It's going to be torn down. There's no density with a building that's empty. You can't say because 10 years ago, it's not a good argument.
What we're not supposed to deal with here is what could happen.
But that's what you just did.
There's not a proposal for a parking lot. There's not a proposal for a parking lot.
There's not a proposal for one big house either, but you made the assumption of that. Don't knock me for what you just did. I'm just stating that this is not for the betterment of the church, number one, which is not this board's purview. And, well, let me finish. But it's also not for the betterment of the city because it's going to impact parking, congestion. It's already a high-density area. The chief of police already took out the vertical parking there because of all the traffic and the problems, and now you're really congested. It's just not a good thing for the city.
Well, it's not, this is taxing them now, put those 3 single-family home lots, so that Greenville got $3 million, $2.5 million.
So what's the city going to get? $2,000 a year? $5,000 a year? It's not worth the aggravation.
Not for me to say, it's just, what I say.
Well, why are these houses any worse than the 3 houses behind it as far as messing up the church?
You mean in terms of having to deal with the house next to the church? I don't understand.
I don't see the impact of 3 houses there, and we can't force the church to put a parking lot in. Like I said, that's a whatever the word is, diocese parish problem.
Rich, that's true, but you also don't want to make it so easy that they can just jam houses in.
They're not jamming houses there, they're going with oversized lots.
They're all consistent with the rest of the block.
Oh, they're only going to be consistent if we change the zone.
Exactly.
If we leave it the way it is, you can't get 3 houses.
But we leave it there, we have a dilapidated, vacant building sitting in the city.
I got a question for you. How many parking spaces do you think you can get in there? Maybe 9 tops on a 150-foot lot? Maybe 10 with the drive-through aisle?
With a 24-foot drive aisle?
More than that.
75 feet, a 24-foot drive aisle, you could probably get 18.
20, my lot, I have it.
Now, Chris, I'm just... Chris, why, it just seems to me this is putting, it's not in the right sequence.
What I said, I was just hoping you guys can both be fair and impartial as members of the church. I just guessed.
Why do we need them to
I
put
know
a
you're gonna
parking
lose
lot
my
there when it's
train.
closed? What's the idea of the parking lot if you're going to close it?
I'm just curious, why the church
What's it
wouldn't
for?
say, we
If you wanna make it a
want to
parking lot, for
come
what?
to the board, subdivide the lot into 150, once we have a buyer, take 150 feet, and then the buyer comes back and says, well, let's go get approval for 3 lots and go, like we did over on another lot over there. It just seems like we're...
You're right, Bill. Your experience offshore is that when you property like that, people will wait for approvals. I find in Margate residential sales like this, People aren't going to buy everybody for 6 months and hope this all gets approved. I mean, last time I was here on this, 6 months ago.
Chances are they won't,
They were no further along.
they won't sell it. But I mean, if they had it subdivided off at 150 feet, then put it in. Because we've done it over in a thing where they bought 2 houses and tried to make 3 lots out of it and redid it. And that didn't take that long. It just seems that this is being pushed in a different time frame.
Done actually the most efficient way in one step as opposed to subdivide off 150, right? And then come back and subdivide it again. Try to do it in a more expeditious and efficient fashion than that. Without having to do it twice. Personally, yeah, something.
We don't know if they're going to close the church or what they're going to do with the church yet.
They're never going to close
The
it.
church? Yeah. We don't know that.
We're talking about Blessed Sacrament stuff.
I said to you guys, I don't know what's going to happen. Like
You know.
Well, we're saying we recommend that this be made into 3 lots, subdivided into 3 lots. That's what we're recommending, correct?
So you're saying that we recommend that 150 feet be rezoned S30 so that it can be subdivided ultimately into 3 lots, yes?
Right.
Let me just clarify to the board. The impetus for the referral from the governing body here was because the Holy Trinity Churches wants us to change it from an S60 designation to an S30 designation. The planning board's job is to make a recommendation, not just based on what they're requesting. They can make a recommendation based on what they want, what you want as a planning board. You don't have to essentially say, well, because they're applying for S30 zone, you can recommend an S40 zone, you can recommend an S60 zone, you can recommend to keep it the same. All I'm saying is that all our job is to make a recommendation to the governing body. And if you feel that the church has a good point and you want to make that recommendation as they're requesting, that's fine. But you can also make any other recommendation that you want.
Such as nothing.
Such as nothing, such as we keep it at S60, such as and then the governing body's going to take that recommendation because it's required by the municipal land use law for us to do that if there's a zoning change. And then they're going to make the ultimate determination as to how to zone it.
With notice to the public?
With notice to the public, exactly. And so I just wanted to let the board know that's really the procedure today.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just have one. I really want to know that what we're doing tonight is going to go in front of the public, so they have a say in what is being done, and not, we're just a board determining that it moves forward.
He just said that.
Right. I'm just reaffirming that.
Jim, we're just...
It goes to governing body twice by ordinance. It goes to first reading and second reading with public notice.
In order for the governing body to change any development ordinance, it has to go to the planning board first. That's just a function of the planning board. It's required under the law that, essentially it's there because it allows the people that are supposedly the experts, like this board, give their recommendation to the governing body. And it's going to be public at that point in time.
Does not have to.
They can still approve it if we vote no, or they can turn it down if we vote yes.
They don't have to accept your recommendation.
So we're just following the letter of the law that they want a recommendation from us first so we can look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but your thoughts hold weight.
Right.
They do hold weight, so consider that.
So I think we should have a discussion as to what they, rather take a...
All right, well, at this point, it's just up to the board to discuss this before we take a vote, and of course, one at a time so Jackie can hear us. If there's no other questions or anything, but if there's anything to discuss, when Tom, one second. When Tom brought this up before, at the last time, it was just thrown at us, and I really had no idea, and he brought up valid points, but since that time, I've thought, my opinion is that this is a problem within the church if they want to do it or not. Unfortunately, the parishioners aren't the owners. The owner is asking us to do this. The one valid point that I see against this is what Tom just brought up, to distance himself from saying he's doing it on the church benefit, is saying, is this a parking problem on the city? But I look at it as the city gets ratables, you have a dilapidated building that is being replaced by oversized lots, if we recommend this. Does anybody else? Craig, do you have?
The church?
Mike?
The church apparently wants to sell the property.
Yes.
And they want to put 3 lots on it to sell the property. And the church is the one behind it, wants to move the property. That's my point, you know?
And anyone else have anything to? All right, well then I would request a motion, well, we'll take the motion the way the church wants it, I guess. Does anybody have any alternatives to not agreeing to anything or giving it an S30? Is there any other?
Put that in their vote. When they give their vote yes or no, they can say why they voted no if they choose.
Right, no, I'm just saying if somebody's saying, well, let's make it 4 lots or 2 lots or whatever. So none of that. I don't hear any of that. So can I hear a motion to recommend to the city commission that 150 feet that is currently S60 be changed to S30, which would allow 3 and only 3 building lots?
I'll make that motion.
Did you say S40 first?
60 is turning into 30.
I thought you had said 40.
Well, I probably did, but I meant 30.
They said 30.
I said 30.
Yeah, I make the motion.
There's a motion for the motion for the recommendation as
To
phrased.
30, from 60 to 30.
60 to 30?
Yes.
There's a second.
So has it been seconded?
Is there a second?
I seconded it.
Who's that? You?
Yeah. Nobody else seconded it.
Tom Collins?
No.
Bill Gotchell?
Good reason.
I think it's, like I said, I think it's premature, and it's be easier to say, come in with a subdivided lot, and say, we want to subdivide the main lot, and come in with 3 S30 lots.
So you're no?
Yes. No, I'm a no.
Jim Galantino?
You're good.
It's a tough decision. I mean, when you think about it and you boil it down, it comes to what are we doing with this piece of property? Are we going to allow it to sit like a vacant property with a school on it? I mean, a vacant school property that's dilapidated, and it's just been sitting like that for 15 years, right? 15? Maybe 10. All right, 12. 10. 5. More. Anyhow, I get a feeling that if we don't make a move with this decision, it'll just remain a dilapidated school, and we'll be stuck with it. So I'm just one vote. I'm going to say yes.
I'm looking at 30,000 in ratables for the city. I have a hard time saying no, and it's going to happen anyhow. It's, I got to vote yes.
Craig Palmisano?
Well, with the dilapidated church the way it is, and putting 3 lots there would equal it to the houses on Kenyon Avenue, would square off the street in housing, and the ratables are another thing, and I vote yes for it.
Yeah, I vote yes, only to get the project going, because it's been sitting like it has for like 3 years now.
I thought I was going to get to break a tie tonight. For the reasons I previously stated, I vote yes. I think it's, what they're asking for fits in exactly with what's there in the neighborhood now, so I just don't see any detriment to it.
All right,
Chris, I'll draft a recommendation to the governing body. Yeah. It's usually just a letter memo. I got it before. All right.
If it's not...
Are we done?
No. Oh, that's interesting. None of the...
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do we have anything else to discuss? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second?
Hey.